have talked about traditional investments and how they're taxed already on this channel, we're going to talk about a different asset class, in that being real estate properties or investment properties here in Canada. We're going to skip on the flipping of them. That is generally more of an American thing. In Canada, I don't see a lot of that as an advisor or in that world. A lot of people want income properties and rentals. Now, a lot of people have told me it's kind of foolproof, but that's not the case. And I'd like to just explain how it works here in Canada. We're going to do pros and cons, but let's get right into that. My name's Aaron, and you're watching Cozy Financial Planning. When we talk about real estate, we need to talk about all the good things. A lot of people talk about that there's only good things involved for rental properties here in Canada. That's not the case, but as a financial advisor, a lot of people kind of go against that and believe that like I'm only here to talk about the markets, or only thing I believe in are the markets, and that's not true. So how we're going to deal with that is first we're going to do the pros and cons of real estate, and I'll give you a little bit of summary of both and give you a little bit of professional insight as possible. So first and foremost, you have the potential for long-term appreciation. This is pretty straightforward here in Canada, in that you buy a house for $100,000 and in 30 years it'd be worth $500,000. But it does happen that way, and this is what you're going to end up with, right? So you have appreciation. Now, you bought that house, you had a mortgage on it. How are you going to pay for that mortgage? One of the pros is having it rented out to other people, and that way you receive a steady stream of income. It's going to cover your mortgage, possibly go over that and pay for the maintenance or anything else, and you're going to get ahead that way. You have the steady stream of income. It's a great asset. It's a great way of handling things and getting more money and having an investment work for you. I'm all about money working for you, and this is one way to accomplish that. Now, another thing about houses is that they're easy to leverage. A pro of this would be leveraging. Financial institutions are happy to give you a mortgage as long as you can cover it, but are happy to give you a mortgage to a property because it's secured, it's in the ground, you're not taking it anywhere with you, it's covered by insurance should anything happen, and the banks or financial institutions, they're covered too. This is great for them, and it's easy to leverage away into a higher valuation than getting a leverage loan for traditional investments that are a little tougher. Now, another pro is hedging for inflation. One of the benefits of this is that your rental income and your property appreciation can keep up with or surpass inflation. Inflation is something that's not really talked about in financial planning too much, in that we don't realize how much may be eroded by that in our savings. If we take a checking account as an example, in that case, $100,000 in a checking account over the years is not worth $100,000 because the purchasing power is being eroded by inflation. Whereas having a steady stream of income or having the appreciation of the property itself so you can sell it for more money later down keeps up with that or surpasses it. It's a fantastic situation. Now, the last option or the last pro is that's a tangible asset. This is sticky. We get to touch it. We can go visit it. It's a physical building. It's great in that manner, right? Our traditional investments are just paper. We don't get stock certificates anymore. We don't get anything like that to say we actually own it. We just get a piece of paper every quarter saying that our investment is doing X, Y, Z. How does this come for that? A little summary. So the summary we have for the pros of real estate investing here in Canada is that 1, we have appreciation, long-term appreciation. 2, we have passive income, comes in through renters. It's quite easy to achieve. It's steady income, maybe not passive, but steady. It's easy to leverage. We have hedging for inflation. And then the last one is a tangible asset. Now, with those said, those kind of have a corresponding con to it, and we'll go over them, and I'll give you a summary of it a little bit at the end. So first and foremost, it's a high entry cost, in that you still need a down payment to get in, and you have closing fees and additional fees to that, and that could be a problem on its own. However, it's still a little easier than leveraging for a large loan of stock, for an example, right? It is easier from my experiences and from, just generally probably your own experiences. However, it's still there. It's still a con. You still need that money up front to get in the game. In addition to that is you have maintenance. So we talked about it being a physical, tangible asset, being a positive. The flip side of that is you need to replace the roof, you need a new water heater, you need a new driveway, you need landscaping, you need tools to maintain that, or your tenants need tools to maintain that, and that costs money to repair or handle it. It does come off the bottom line, and we'll talk about that in a future video, but it does come off the bottom line. However, it is a con. It may not be a large one, but it does exist. One that's kind of a minor one, I believe, is market volatility. Prices going up, interest rates going up, making it harder to maintain your mortgage. You may be underwater from that. We'll talk about that more in a different video, but it is a possible con that market volatility is there. We shouldn't ignore it. It should be part of your conversation if this is an option for you moving forward into an investment type you want, because maybe you just don't want the traditional investments and you want something like that. One of the other cons is illiquidity, in that you can't sell a house overnight. This isn't a stock, mutual fund, bond, or GIC that they are like pretty much instantly sold. Only GICs get locked in, and even then you can generally break them for certain reasons. For a house, you can't just sell it overnight, and if you do, it's a extremely large penalty you would take for closing costs or anything like that, or having a quick closing date for the buyer. That is commonly what happens. There's a longer period of time to maximize your money. Illiquidity is an issue. People like to think it's not when it comes to real estate, but at the same time, one pro tip is, we talked about long-term appreciation. You don't get that outside of a crazy market like COVID, except for like 10, 15, 20 years down the line. It's not something you can buy, then 2-3 years later sell for a profit, except for in extenuating circumstances. That is the exception, not the rule. We don't want to do that. We want to be careful. So it is illiquid. It's not something you can sell instantaneously and receive the cash. The only option to that, if someone wants to fight me on it, is you could possibly remortgage or get a line of credit and you get the access to it, but you're paying a premium in interest to accomplish that. So it's not free and it's not illiquid. You just pay a premium to do that, and it can be very costly of interest over the period of time that you're paying down everything. So with that said, is we talked about the steady income coming in from tenants. There are tenant issues possibly. I do know of a handful of stories of people having difficult tenants or destroying the property, upwards $30,000-$40,000. If people want to argue with me and tell me that get a real estate agent to put someone in there and that'll make it better, every case I've heard of a landlord having trouble with a tenant has been a real estate tenant. So it doesn't solve the whole issue. It still exists. You're the owner. You're not going to be able to put this onto someone else. The last one would be regulatory risk. The government is going to mess with your financial plan or have the largest impact on your financial plan than choosing between traditional investments or real estate or anything else that you can think of for yourself. The regulations of certain things are going to change, and it's going to make it harder for landlords or tenants. And as we talked about earlier, being illiquid, it's difficult to get out of it if the regulations change and you have problems. Currently, the regulations changed in the GTA in that landlords now can't just put someone on the street for repairs or renovations and move someone out. They have to prove that they have to move the person off the property to complete the renovations. They need inspections. The price of the application is $700 per unit. So if you have a house with upstairs and downstairs, it's $1,400 for the whole unit if you need to remove both tenants in that case. We're getting a little nitty gritty here on something that I don't really want to talk about on the regulations of it, but it means that there's changes and landlords now have to have this. It could potentially affect them. With that said, we've talked about the summary of the pros. Summary is we have high interest or high entry costs, ongoing expenses, tenant issues, market volatility, illiquidity, and regulatory issues or regulatory risk. With the balance between the two, I personally believe that this could weigh out. It's a personal situation. You have to weigh the pros and cons for your situation versus these risks or cons and see where it comes out. Please run the numbers for yourself in your situation to see if it makes sense. Real estate isn't blanket for everyone, and traditional investments are not blanket for everyone. You just have to be mindful. Anyway, we're kind of getting a little head in the weeds here. Just a summary of the cons are high entry cost, tenant issues, ongoing expenses, illiquidity, market risk, and regulatory risk. Stick to those, weigh the pros and cons for yourself if traditional or if rental properties are for you, and then make your decision. I hope this kind of becomes clear. If not, if you have any questions, shoot me a message. I'm happy to talk about it in further videos. Once again, this is Cozy Financial Planning.